It's Astrology Roast. I think it needs to sound like a shitty intro, like a funny shitty intro.
Hi everyone and welcome back to Astrology Roast. My name is Karen.
My name is Itai and welcome to Quarantine Edition.
Yes, welcome to the brave new world. I have started to refer to time as BC and AC, before Corona and after Corona. I guess at this stage we're in Corona, but this is a really odd time to be recording. But in some ways it suits Astrology Roast quite well, because what else can we do when we are stuck in our apartments and homes, avoiding reality, but to record Astrology Roast and connect with everyone out there. So I hope you're all doing well. We are going to keep recording for as long as we can. And yeah, we're very excited and terrified for this new chapter. Itai, how are you going? What's changed? What's happening for you?
What has changed? Well, I learned something about myself. I learned that I always knew I'm very anxious as a person, but it was really interesting. Yeah, I know some of you might be surprised, but you know, if you met me in real life for a second or listened to more than a minute of this podcast, you might understand why I'm saying I'm an anxious person.
You're an anxious man. You're not just an anxious person. You're an anxious man.
I'm an
and
anxious
we do
man
need to acknowledge
with the voice
that
of a
every
woman.
single episode. Yes,
It's true. But I learned that I have like my anxiety is specific. Like, you know, every person is different, and I'm different in the way that I would be super anxious every time I'll get the tiniest scratch, like on my finger. I'll be like, okay, this is going to get infected. They're going to cut my hand off. This is me without the hand. Like, it's a new me. I'll be the guy with no hand. Like, okay, I'll write a post about it. I'll make it my thing, my signature. But then when there's like a world plague, I'm calm. I'm like, okay, you know, it's not going to get me. Like, and even if it does, it's like I really, when there's room, when there's logic involved of the fear, then I'm fine. But you know, the craziest scenarios in my head. Yeah, so it's interesting. I'm learning to know myself better.
and what a beautiful person to get to know. And I feel like you will get to know yourself quite well over the next coming months. So we look forward to hearing about this journey. I too have learnt a lot about the machinations of the brain and the mind and anxiety. And what you just said really reminds me of what both of us have mentioned on this podcast a number of times. When people are born with lots of natal retrogrades, then when we enter retrograde season, they seem to be chill AF because they are used to being backwards. And I think I was under the assumption that, yes, I can be a very anxious person, and similar to what you said about when you scratch yourself, you start thinking about all the different scenarios. For me, it's more I resign myself to a reality that is false. So if I'm on a plane, every time I'm on a plane, I can't help it, but I think, oh, this is the it. This is the end. And I've lived, you know, I gave it a crack. I gave it a good crack, and this is it. And I look at the person next to me, I'm like, this will be the last person who farts on me, or who, you know, coughs next to me, or who is reading some boring magazine next to me. I go through that scenario. But I always thought that when a real crisis was to occur, all my superpowers born out of my anxiety and my third generation Holocaust trauma, all of that would come into effect, and I'd be like super person ready to lift up cars and save people. Turns out not necessarily the case. You know, I thought I'd be like a crocodile, one of my favorite animals to compare myself to, because they chill out for like decades and decades, and they conserve all of their amazing energy. And then when they need to strike, all of a sudden all this energy is ready to be unlocked. I thought I was a crocodile. It turns out I'm another animal, not a crocodile, a different kind of reptile. And I literally felt during this time, as things have become increasingly crazy and wild, I felt like a switch had been turned on, And all of my epigenetics related to my grandparents and great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents' experiences of dislocation and exile and diaspora, all of that kicked into gear into a crazy, wild way. So I became full, doomsday, the world's ending, the writing's on the wall, Australia is Hungary. Hungary was impacted by World War II at the later stage, but then they really denied everything that happened, and so they didn't do too well. And it's the reason why my Hungarian grandfather migrated here, so that's why I'm talking to you, but it wasn't a good idea. But it feels like Nero is fiddling whilst Rome is burning, in Australia at least, and I couldn't get back to the ground. So I felt like all these people around me have been kind of relatively chilled or absolutely terrified. And yeah, I felt like a little flick of a switch, and I was all of a sudden acting from a really fearful, hustling place, which wasn't appropriate because we're not yet at that stage. So like I was buying things like yeast and flour and provisions as if I had to go into bunker for 10 years and never see the light of day. And then also thinking, what's my mission? What's my service? Am I going to be a partisan? Am I going to be a conscientious objector? Am I going to be a collaborator? So it was like all of my anxiety skills were channeled to a very particular World War III scenario. But in a global pandemic, it doesn't quite fit. So I'll need to adjust that so it fits the actual accuracy and maybe, channel this kind of super energy heightened state into washing my hands fastidiously, or being really mindful of social distancing, or communicating heaps on media and having fun with it. So I really have stepped into that space, and I'm ready now that we're entering Aries season to move into a more productive, fruitful, meaningful application of my anxieties. So that's my 2 cents. I wonder if anyone out there has also felt like a switch was flicked on and they entered into an altered state of being, or have you been really chilled? Have you been chilling out and you find that having some time to be at home or away from work has been an absolute blessing, but you feel ashamed to acknowledge that you're really enjoying whatever is happening? That's okay. It's all welcome here.
What is it with the yeast? Why did we buy yeast? I also bought...
I don't know. Did you? I just had this idea. I think it's like with anything when you go on a holiday, when you buy all these books and you think, I'm going to become a reader. And the identity I thought I'd be would be like, I'm going to become a jogger, and I'm going to become a reader person. And a baker. What?
A sourdough person, like sourdough.
Yeah, I'm going to become a baker and also a runner. I wanted to become a runner and maybe a stoner, but none of those things have happened.
In my defense, I have used the yeast already and baked some challah, which is Jewish bread, as we call it. But it's really interesting.
You showing off from quarantine about how productive you are. Okay.
Oh, I'm not productive at all, but I do relate to that flick. How did you call it? A flick?
Well, it's a flick. It's a flick of the switch, because my grandmother, who also has a switch that is flicked on and off because of her own anxiety, she often says, what did she say? She always says, I would turn the switch off if I could only find it. People tell you to turn yourself off. You turn the switch off when you feel anxious or stressed or scared. And she's like, I would, but I can't find it. And I love that even in her old age, as her dementia has increased, she still remembers to make light of her anxious ways. So I find that quite beautiful. But yes, the switch.
As an Aries, I really hate plants. I hate receiving plants. I tried for a second to have a plant and pretend like I'm going to water it. And
you hate it.
I hate it. I don't want to do it. I don't want something that I need to, take care of. I have a cat now. It's already too much. And even when I got that one plant a few years ago, I went into the store and I said, I want a plant that can live on its own and I don't need to do anything. And she was like, yeah, you need to water it once a month. And I was like, but how will I remember once a month? Anyway, it died like every plant. It died in a week. It's almost as if they come to the house and they realize they don't need to bother even trying to survive. And today, so I have a plant in the house and it's slowly dying. And I keep telling my roommate, I'm like, I just can't wait for it to die. And he's trying to keep it alive. And my roommate went to quarantine with his family. So today, this morning, I woke up and I looked at the plant and it's sad. It's like half dead, but it's still fully alive. Like you can see that it's alive. It's like it can hold on. And I had this vision of like this post-apocalyptic world where like you can't even touch plants, and it's like a memory that we tell our children about, or my cat.
Wow.
And I looked at the plant and I was like, I still don't want you here. I still don't want to have you here. So I chucked it out.
Wow.
And I'm
Oh my
so
God.
happy. And I'm like, my roommate...
And I think that's really important to remember, because people need to check in with what is still relevant for them. And whatever you felt weird about, whatever you were anxious about, whatever you were passionate about before this coronavirus has become everything and anything anyone talks about, that stuff is still going to be what guides you and navigates you. Like, you are never going to want to keep that plant alive, even in the end of days, or even with your switch turned on.
Yeah, and I think it's good to make sure you remember your pre-coronavirus depression, and then I know for me, I need to remind myself, okay, like before quarantine, you also had you were going through some stuff, you know. So it's not let's not blame coronavirus for everything in our lives.
Yes, exactly. I'm well aware that it's all related to before Corona. In fact, this is
BC.
This is a new age. It's a chance to kind of wipe the slate clean.
I know, but I feel like we say that every episode. We're like, okay, this is Pisces season. It's your chance to reflect. Like Aries season is gonna 2020 is gonna be our year, but it's like we can't just. When is it actually gonna be our year?
We're not Nostradamus. We can't predict. And as I've said, people keep dissing 2019 and saying, bring me back to 2019. Whatever is now is for now. And we will embrace it, and we will be sad through it or happy through it. It can be a horrible time, but it is still now. And I still am always hoping that we move forward and to the future. I don't sit there and think, bring me back to 2019. It was 2019, we were asleep at the wheel in a way. We were complaining every episode, and that was real for us at the time. And we still have the right to complain during this time about really first world issues as well. Like, I will not let coronavirus take that away from me. My right to feel complaining and to purchase yeast and not make things, and then to not want to go to gym even if the gym is in my house. I mean, my main concern, I don't know if anyone out there that listens to this podcast sees a psychologist or a counselor, but the one I see is pretty old. And I don't know if I can go there anymore because I don't want to expose either of us. Yeah, so I feel like just no one should be visiting anyone that's a health professional that's over the age of 30, I think. I think that's my cutoff.
Well, someone was just saying to me, someone just said that Slave for You was the music video by Britney for our young listeners. That was they showed it on VH1 Classic, the channel, like the music channel, and she was like, "That's it. We're at risk. We're like, we're in danger to get the yeah." Well, it's sad that I think "Slave for You" is a relevant song every year.
Yes, exactly. It's not sad about the pandemic. It's more sad that young people have not been exposed to Britney Spears at a younger age to help them prepare for this, to give them the resources and the tools.
It's the second time a world disaster stops Britney from flourishing. Like when Slave for You was actually released, it was like a few weeks before 9/11. And then I spoke about it on the podcast before. And then, they wouldn't play it because they were like playing only sad songs. And that's why until this day, this song hasn't picked up yet, 19 years later. But
Wow. And
yeah,
I think that will help see us through this time. And speaking of Brittany, who better to teach us about how to do a lot of fun things indoors. She is often in her LA home, not leaving the house, and
she's
she makes a day of it. She's also been limited in her mobility because she broke her leg and or her foot. Sorry to all the fans who just shuddered when I said the wrong information about Brittany. I'm sorry, but she can teach us a lot about how to navigate lockdowns and
well, she can teach us a
quarantines.
lot about everything, but specifically, I think if anything, Britney is a symbol of hope to Sagittarians all around the world because she has been in quarantine in the past, I would say, 5 to 6 years, and she
Oh
definitely,
no.
she definitely makes, yeah, as you said, she makes a day of it. She plays chasey with her kids in the backyard. She does her own runway shows, fashion
Yeah.
shows. Um, she dances. She breaks her foot every now and then, and she does yoga. And she paints, and then she sells it for charity. So everyone
Oh,
has hope. We can all make it through. Maybe we should do like how people have these mugs. If Britney made it through 2007, I can make it through this year. So we can make like if
yes.
Britney made it through like 5 years of quarantine, I can. Maybe I'm just throwing it out
Copyright,
there.
patent pending.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if everyone knows, but Itai does have a I wouldn't say languishing and I wouldn't say thriving, but you do have a t-shirt slash tote business that people can access if they want to order some astrology roast merchandise.
They
It
can
has been a
find
little
it,
bit
but
on
they
the back
cannot
burner.
order. They cannot order. It's frozen.
It's frozen, so even that. Yeah, Britney Spears is an amazing Sagittarius example of how to be in lockdown or quarantine. She does all of her activities from a 10-meter radius. And I love that she's really good at choosing a good backdrop that pretends like she's free. So she's been quite obsessed with this red backdrop, and she took a huge photo shoot of her posing in a swimsuit
Oh
against
my
a
God.
red backdrop. And then she posted a whole rant on Instagram about how everyone had criticized her for posting pictures of her in a swimsuit and how like she didn't understand. She was just trying to, be proud of this photo shoot and share it with the world. But Sagittarians are restless. They always need to be moving or doing something new or sharing new ideas with the world. And she shares, whatever books she's reading. She shares her photo shoots. She dances. She paints. She's doing everything a Sag would do from a limited area. And so I think we can learn a lot from her. I know that we speak a lot about the same celebrities, but they are my strength and my fortitude in crazy wild times, which I still say 2019 was one of those times. I will stand by that. But Jennifer Lopez, if anyone has been following her as well, she is also a good person to check in with. She has been posting insanely attractive photos of her in high heels to promote her new, I think it's her new footwear line as well as her new bag line. So they're like
Yeah.
hot photos of her half naked, and then she says #stay safe. So I think she's also embracing a global pandemic. Who else, Itai?
Listen,
Who else can we
it's
learn from?
uh, so many. Like I think we can also learn like what not to do, and we have all the celebrities that did the Imagine cover. Gal Gadot starting it off, and then the rest are just taking it to places, and everyone hated it, and we're posting about no one asked you to do that, and I think also no one asked anyone to go live, like the amount of live streams that people do on Instagram, which I'm, by the way, I'm going to do it for sure, so I'm gonna criticize myself in advance, but no one wants to see that, no one needs that. But we do it because what else do we do? We need to matter. We need to matter in this world. And if we can't go out and know that we are real, then we have to do it online, I guess.
Yeah, I have also been going live with Lauren the Leo, who has featured on Astrology Roast many, many times. And I love that we just did one live performance and on Facebook Live, and we were sitting there requesting from people, let us know what songs you want. Hi everyone, we're trying to keep the morale high, and no one was watching. Everyone was out living their own lives, and I was like, wow, really, the community has not begged for this or asked for this. And it feels like there's an opportunity now for people to share all this unsolicited stuff that otherwise you wouldn't watch anyway if you were stuck at home, with the flu or recovering from a surgery. You wouldn't be sitting there watching a million people performing live. But as you say, we all need to feel like we're participating and we're doing something. I can certainly say that the Jewish community has mobilized as if it is World War III. I've never, ever seen a community that has stepped into the end of days so rapidly. They're all dropping things off to everyone. I've been invited to a million Facebook groups, and another opportunity to feel guilty about not doing enough to heal or help people in the community. I just am like, I can't right now. I can't.
We're all just doing our best.
We are.
So, as a service to our beautiful, amazing listeners, we gonna share some information about what it's like to quarantine with a certain star sign, and maybe we're gonna share some tips. We already posted some tips on our Instagram account, but we're gonna elaborate, we're gonna explain, we're gonna, give a little bit of, I don't know if hope is the right word, but maybe some hard truth. Aries quarantine is not easy. Let me say that. As an Aries, I've been doing it for 2 days now. And it's hard. We need constant entertainment. We need space. But then we want to do stuff with people. It's like babysitting a kid. And then it's nice for like the first 20 minutes. And then you want the kid to sleep or to just disappear from wherever you are.
Yeah, so how can a restless Aries navigate this time? Because I've been loving all of the Aries, how they're posting and engaging with the quarantine lockdown. My friend has a 3-year-old Aries who, her birthday party had to be cancelled or changed because of all of the fear about the pandemic. And God bless this Aries child. She is a firecracker. She kept singing happy birthday to herself and singing happy birthday to myself, and like just asking everyone to sing happy birthday to her again and again. And then she told her mother at one stage that she wasn't letting her mum have any of her cake because she was angry with her. This was a few days before the birthday. And then her mum looked at her and was like, well, who's going to make that cake? And then the child went, sorry, mum, love you. I think that Aries, if you're quarantining with an Aries, if you know them, make sure they're still getting their way. Make sure they're still getting adequate attention. Make sure they feel like they have a choice. So even if the choice is between this canned product and this canned product, give them the choice and tell them to do it, and tell them, okay, it's your task to lead the cooking now, or to make sure they've got an internet connection as well, because they still need to feel like they're leaders and they're moving forward, and their life is part of, goal setting and energy and action. So still giving them action and choice and autonomy, and making sure that they are sometimes the center of attention and they get to tell you what to do. So I think if you can give that to your Aries, if they're 31 or if they're 3, then
it doesn't matter.
They will still be okay. And if they want to sing happy birthday to themselves, then do it. Because we need to, they're in grief. Aries are in grief because their birthday season is being fucked over. And who knows, maybe it's another birthday season next year that will also have to be in quarantini, as I call it.
My Lord.
So make sure you remember them. It's their birthdays. You can't visit them, but you can sure as hell post 50 photos of them on Instagram where they look hot as fuck, and remind everyone that they are a sex fiend that everyone wants to have sex with. You can do that for your Aries friends. Do not forget them at this time. They are vulnerable and they hate being vulnerable.
It's true. I didn't even want to do anything for my birthday. The second I realized I can't, I was like, I want to do something for my birthday. Like we just
Yes.
want to do what we can. So it's not fair. I wrote some tips, Aries, stuff to do. You can do just dance videos or any like aerobics. Like you can watch the Dua Lipa physical 80s version video and pretend like you're a part of the video. You can see the first episode of every Netflix show because
Yes.
you know how much we love to start things but never finish. So there's many shows you can just start. But please don't play competitive board games with your family because that is going to be a disaster. You cannot run. You cannot run and slam the door and say, "You're not my mother anymore. I hate all of you." Like you can't do this. You have to stay at home. So no board games for you.
Yes, yeah. And I have witnessed you playing board games with, I think, a Leo and a Gemini, and it was
not
quite
fun.
scary. It was not fun.
Not
It was
fun.
It
I
got
don't
dark.
enjoy
Shit
it.
got dark.
Yeah. Taurus.
Wow.
Taurus in quarantine.
No, I think I wish I had a boring Taurus partner to see me through this quarantine. I think it would be nice. All of the shit that I've spoken about Tauruses before, I take it all back, and I'm really happy to be contacted if you want to be, if you want us to be close during this time. I'd really like that. I think my fake boyfriend that I made up last episode, Brett, I think he's definitely a Taurus. So I grieve for him.
Brett is like rolling a joint right now, listening to our podcast, like not paying attention.
He's so good to
I
me.
think my problem with being quarantined with the Taurus is that I don't smoke weed and I don't do any drugs because I'm too anxious to do that. So, and they probably have it ready for the next 6 months. So I don't think I'll have so much fun. But to be honest, to be fair, when I asked online, who would you want to quarantine with? Most of the people said Taurus. And their explanation was that they're just, first of all, everyone was like, that's how they live their life anyway. So they know. And also that they just like the most spoiling and fun and fuzzy and chill and just comfortable in their home. So I can see that.
Yeah. You know what, though? It would still be boring for me. So.
Yeah, no, obviously. I would never. Like
you would
maybe
never.
just like no, I would never. But
it's
for
like,
Taurus
when you have a
quarantine-
lover and like what you have in common is the physical side of things. Like it's fun, it's exciting, but after a while, like you need more. Not to say that Taurus people, that's all they're about. I know they're more than just their bodies.
No, but we're only talking as a Gemini stellium and an Aries, you know?
Yeah.
We're only
it's
talking
true.
from our point of view. Some people love boring partners. Some people love them. So, Taurus, your tips is that things you should do is sex, obviously, if you can. Weed, as you probably would, even if I didn't say that. And change from your nighttime PJs to your daytime PJs. But I would encourage you to at least once a day leave your bed and walk around the house or do something.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's you nailed it right there and then.
I don't know, they're simple. What about Geminis? How do you feel? How do you feel right now?
No comment to the second question. To the first question, I'm still absolutely terrified that Donald Trump is a Gemini and is currently leader of the free world, if we can call it that. And I do really believe he will be the last president of the United States. I think anyway, so as I've gone on a rant and a tangent, you can see how Geminis operate. They need to be in constant communication. They need an IV drip of communication and connection.
Yes.
They work their best in teams, in duos, sometimes in groups, and through communication. So I think a lot's been said about online communication replacing IRL communication. I tend to think that it's still not the same, but I think Geminis will need to make sure they've got an amazing internet connection if you have a Gemini friend that does not have fast internet and you want to give them anything, make sure it's that. If you are in quarantine with one, you might need to make sure they have a separate space to talk to themselves whilst pacing up and down, because
and that you have a separate space to like have a moment of silence.
Yes, exactly.
For yourself.
Exactly. So for yourself, exactly. And it's look, I have been feeling all of it, and the emotions are up and down and left and right. And I'm sure anyone with such a strong representation of Gemini in their chart as I do, they might be the same. So if you have any Gemini friends and you realize that one day they're absolutely chilled and they're so fine and they're so good, and then the next day they're in a complete spiral of doomsday and loops in their brain, just roll with it with them, because that's how they live their life generally. It's part of the beauty that we are a sign of change and transition. So if you're really able to embrace your best qualities as a Gemini in lockdown, just remember that you thrive with change. You thrive with transition. You thrive with online communication and connection. So you can stay okay, but you will need to do something else to ground yourself during this time. Yeah. So maybe it's a plant, maybe it's a dog, maybe it's running up and down the room or practicing meditation, but you'll need to do something because it's, a very restless sign. And I'm sorry, I do speak from my lived experience as a Gemini, so I have more to say compared to the other signs.
A Gemini stellium, I'd like to add.
A Gemini stallion.
Stallion. I have some practical advice for Gemini. I think every Gemini should have a podcast. Every Gemini should start a podcast. If you're a Gemini and you have a podcast, DM to us and we'll give you a shout out on our Instagram, because you guys were born to talk. You guys were born to transfer information. Mercury at its best. So Geminis, start a podcast, even if it's going to be one episode floating on the net. It doesn't have to be consistent. It doesn't have to happen more than once. Just do it. It's fun. Also,
and I think of your housemate, your roommate Itai, who shut up shop and left your house in like 5 seconds just to, head to his family. I think that's also another quality. It's not just the constant chatting, but Geminis can switch within a second.
You guys are
to
mutable,
another. We're mutable. We change into a new persona all the time. So if you are in lockdown with a Gemini and you wake up and they're just not there anymore and everything has been stripped bare of all of their belongings, and you get a text,
check the basement.
Check the basement. But that just let them do that, because they're going to need to feel, again, just like the Aries needs to feel like it's leading and it's got choice and it gets to do what it wants to do. Geminis need to feel like they can also transition and be flexible and shift and change their identities and change how they feel or talk about this pandemic at any given stage. Definitely. Don't be stressed if you're more of a fixed sign or you're an earth sign, because it's just how they process and how they learn and how they connect. It's just their way.
Yeah. And another thing you can do as a Gemini is make memes, because you guys are funny and you guys know how to communicate that. So do that. There's not enough memes on the internet, as everyone can agree on. And something I would recommend not doing is getting into your head too much. We know that Virgos and Geminis, being ruled by Mercury, could be very analytical, very overthinking. So just, try to find things that get you out of your head at some points of the day. Now, the star sign that represents home, that represents the being inside the four walls and nesting, if I have to choose a positive word. Cancer. Are they happy?
Think Cancerians are going to nail this time more than any other sign. I think that for any of the Cancerians I know who have been out of sorts because they're in the modern world and they're having to be busy all the time and be in the world all the time. This is the excuse and the opportunity that they've been waiting for to slow down and to nurture and to care. I think that the qualities that are being asked from the collective at this time, which is to care, to be compassionate, to give and to nurture and to remain indoors, to go inside into our inner world, that is exactly the qualities that a Cancerian embodies. So I think if you are lucky enough to be in lockdown with a Cancerian, you've done well. They're going to cook for you. They're going to tell you off for not cleaning your underpants properly. They're going to nurture you. They're going to make sure you're getting up and having breakfast at a consistent time. I think
they're going to bottle up all their feelings and then explode 3 weeks later and blame you for everything that you've done. It's going to be fun if you're lucky enough.
It's like living with your mum. It'll be living with, a mum. And I think, if anything, it's going to be a relief for Cancerians. I think they're going to feel a bit of a breath of fresh air for them.
Karen, are you going to spend the quarantine with your mom?
No, I'm not going to spend the quarantine.
It is a possibility.
My mum's response to this saga, this pandemic, has been to write me a text saying, "On the upside, gym has been cancelled. I hate that place." And so this is my Cancerian mother's reflection. My Cancerian grandmother will be, I won't be able to visit her, and I think that's just going to be heartbreaking as well for anyone out there that has, grandparents or anyone that they won't be able to visit during this time. That's hard. And my Cancerian auntie, she has been mobilizing the entire Jewish community in Melbourne to hustle and bring goods to the elderly and to the chronically ill. And she sent me a message saying that, "Darling, did you see the picture of me on the newspaper? You must have seen it. I didn't want that picture to be taken. I asked them not to." I'm like, "No, I haven't seen it. Now I'll look at it." But also, Cancerians, your qualities, it's time for you to share them with the world in a way.
It's true.
I think bring it on. Bring them out there. They're nurturing. They don't get enough enough praise. I'm really pro Cancerian today. I think something's in the water, or
I wasn't ready for it.
I know.
But some tips for you, Cancerians. First of all, I want to say one thing. Yeah, we make fun of you, but it's true. It is your time to shine. And also, for some of you that maybe said earlier when Karen was describing like how you like to be at home, I know a lot of you want to defend that and say that it's not always true. So we want to acknowledge that, yes, you are a cardinal sign, so you like to be active and proactive. Also, we know the moon goes from shadow to light to shadow to light to shadow to light, and we know that Cancerians have those moments where they want to be fully visible and out there and big and central and whatever. But yeah, let's face it, you guys love to stay in. So that's on you. Tips. Cook for someone, create homes on Sims, which is actually a tip for everyone. Like, we all love Sims. We all made homes and made little Sims of Britney and Justin and killed Justin in the pool. We've all done it. Other things that you might want to do is read old letters that you wrote or that you received from people in the past. I feel like Cancerians would love to do that. And something you might want to avoid is starting fights in your head with people that are not aware of them and for things that they've done to you 5 years ago. Moving on to Leo.
Oh my God. Well, look, I am going to be in lockdown with a Leo, so help me God. But they are amazing. I am constantly floored by how much Leos still can hog the limelight, even in a global pandemic. How is it that they know how to always be the one with glitter all over their face, or with, a message for humanity that's clearly still all about them? if you're with a Leo, make sure they are expressing themselves. Or if you are a Leo in lockdown, make sure that you have time to shine. Make sure that you have someone to listen to your performance, your dance, your artwork, your music. I think maybe the lockdown will give Leos a little bit of time just to work on their craft a bit more before sharing it to the world, because I think they can jump to sharing before things are quite formed. But I don't know. I don't know how they're going to navigate this time.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, we also said that in our End of the World episode, that our first episode, What Would the Star Signs Do when it's the end of the world? We said that Leo would just make like a story, like a documentary about their own experience. And the fact that we live in the age where you can actually do a documentary about yourself on Instagram, then I'm sure they're going to use it. All I ask is, do whatever you need to do. Watch your own story highlights. Put stories like there's no tomorrow. Just stop going live, or, just record yourself singing or dancing and then post it. Work on something before, as you said, work on something before you release it. I wouldn't mind being stuck with a Leo.
I wouldn't mind, and it's going to happen. So I'll be recording live from what is lovingly known as, or used to be known as, the ladies' pad, which is a safe space for anyone to enter that needs to be covered in humanity and connection and overwhelm. So that's where I will be recording the next episode from. But I think what sums up the Leo experience of lockdown and quarantine for me is when my Leo friend, Lauren, looked at me, a few weeks after we started to understand the impact of COVID-19 or coronavirus. And she looked at me and she's like, imagine if we make a song to the song My Corona, but it's about coronavirus. And I loved that suggestion, because it was already 2 weeks after the pandemic. Every single second person would have known that My Sharona sounds like My Corona, and there's probably 500,000 songs on the internet based on that. But I just love with Leos, they always think they are the first to think of something, and they sell it to you as if it's the best thing since sliced bread. So
that's literally Kylie Jenner going live on Instagram and saying, like, this coronavirus is a real thing. She literally went 2 days ago and said that 2 days ago, like, the whole world is in quarantine, like the world is shutting down, and she goes on and she's like, it's a real thing.
They're a little bit late to the party, I've noticed. So they're a bit.
It's very weird.
They're not the quick. Yeah, they're not the first to know what's going on. But they are the first to make something engaging and insightful and entertaining from it. So again, back to J-Lo, during the height of the global pandemic, or when things were already quite clear, she was still not acknowledging it on her Instagram. She was still posting just photos of herself. And I used to show that to people to say, lol, Leo's during the apocalypse, just posting hot photos of themselves. Now she's still posting hot photos, but she says #stay safe next to them. So I think they're a little bit late to the party, but once they get there, you're really happy that they're at the party, because, it is a fixed sign. It's a loving sign. They are leaders. So even though they might be late to the game, I think they will lead us to a better or more entertaining tomorrow. Mind you, I might have different things to say about it when I am living in, a few square meters of an amazing Leo for a couple of weeks. Yeah. So let's just see how it goes. But Leos, I wish you all the best.
We'll be here to hear all about it. Virgos, I think Virgos are one of the signs that they in the sweet spot of dealing with it. Because in one hand,
they're very fastidious. They're very clean and analytical, and they care about attention to detail. So if you're not sure if you're washing your hands properly, or if you're attending to proper social distancing or hygiene, like, the Virgo is going to bring out their measuring tape and make sure that you are 2 meters away from them. They'll tell you. I would suggest to any Virgos that are listening to this, because they're usually quite a busy sign that is very engaged in doing and acts of service and keeping their brain entertained and fed. So I would encourage any Virgos, because you're also ruled by Mercury. You are prone to maybe too much analysis. Just try and turn down the media or the news or the politics just a fraction, because it might overwhelm your brain or your cognitive abilities a bit much. So stay busy by all means, stay connected to your podcast, your books. Keep, telling everybody what they're doing wrong and how they can do it better during this time, but just turn down the frequency of the politics, or else you will go crazy and everyone around you will go crazy as well.
Yes, and I think you're right. A bored Virgo is a sad Virgo, and one of my Virgoest Virgo friends always used to say, like, her mantra was busy people get shit done, and she had like a notebook with all her tasks that said that. And it's right, and they need to be busy because they need to get their shit, like they need to get shit done. And it's hard when you're at home, because like how many times can you rearrange your closet? How many times?
But how many times can you wash your hands? Many.
How many times do you switch? How many times do you change your sheets a year? I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't done it yet this year, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, Virgos, the tips that we have for you is also very practical. So obviously reorganize your house. That's a given. That's like my corona. Check on everyone and send them like goodie bags, because you guys just know what to give to others, and you just know the thing that will make someone happy before they even know it. So use that skill. Like now is the time, and learn a new skill. We know you already know how to do everything. We know that, but maybe there's something you still don't know. Maybe you can, maybe you can become the baker. Maybe you can buy some yeast and start a sourdough, whatever.
Well, even better if all the Virgos listening to this podcast and in the world dedicated their cognitive abilities and their attention to detail to finding a vaccine for coronavirus. I reckon we'd be out of this mess in about 2 months, tops. So,
that's still,
you heard it here first. As I said to you today, Itai, I'm not Nostradamus. I can't predict as much as I try. So if this ends up being incorrect, I'm sorry. This podcast dates very quickly because, it takes us time to do it, and then we put it out there, and then all of a sudden we're in a global pandemic. So, don't take anything of what we say too seriously. But Virgos out there, please definitely get to work with finding the solution to this crisis. But I think their superpower as well during this time, if all the Virgos can remember everyone's birthdays whilst in lockdown and quarantine, and remind everyone like, hey, it's, this Aries birthday, like we should send them something, we should send them a voucher. That will be their superpower, because it's an act of service. It's to do with, making sure that their lists are getting ticked off, and then going and buying the gift or arranging for it to be sent to someone else. So all the other star signs are maybe in a bit of a different panic, but if Virgos just remember everyone's birthdays or everyone's allergies or whatever it is, your attention to detail during this time is going to be a beautiful gift that you can give to others. So I look forward to it.
Definitely. And someone else with attention to detail but completely different outlook on life is Libra. And Libra's in quarantine.
Well, you live with a Libran. You live with a Libran. How's that?
I lived with a Libran. I think, it's not easy. Obviously, Librans are the Aries, their opposite sign, their cardinal sign, their air sign. Like, they don't need to be tamed. They don't need to be locked down. They can't even hold like a regular, like a monogamous relationship. So staying at home.
Well, how is your cat navigating this time? Because your cat is a Libran, as we know.
My cat, he's the best. I'm just like, if I'm going to start talking, I'm just going to say things that cat people say. That is just like, I love him so much. He's the best. He does this cute little thing where he does this and that. Honestly, he scratches me all the time, and like I have scars all over my hands. So they don't tell you that in the Facebook groups. But he's cute. He's very, very, very Libran. He likes to cuddle.
So what can we learn from Prince and your cat that we can offer to all Librans that might be at home at this time or might have noticed shifts in their world?
Well, I think Libras, and I keep reminded by the Libras around me of how visual they are and how they experience a lot of the things visually. Even one person was describing to me how every color heart emoji she uses differently. Like every color means something. Like the white heart is where she like someone she hates and she wants to like blow them away, blow them off, blow them away. Like what's the phrase? Like get them off her chat. Like not. Anyway, she uses the
It's
white
definitely
heart.
not blow them off, is all I can say.
She doesn't want to blow them off. She wants to blow them away. She sends the white heart, and then like every different heart is for a different situation. And I was like, that's so visual, that's so Libra. So you can paint like Brittany. You can film and upload a makeup tutorial because we all know how much you love your makeup, or you can like browse through the Instagram filters and like find, Coachella vibes filters that make you look pretty and save them and then use them later. A filter a day maybe. But don't text your crush a million times because you're in quarantine. They cannot come over. Even if they could, like, it's probably not going to go anywhere. So
Well,
just...
I don't know about that, Itai. I'm going to take the devil's advocate, because this is life. I'm from a Jewish background, as we all know, and it's all about being adversarial. Jews fight with God and fight with everyone about opinions, 2 Jews in a room, 3 opinions in a room. So anyway, that aside. But with Librans, we had a wonderful Libran on this podcast whose mantra or approach to life is so, so relevant to this time for all Librans. Flirting is not cheating. Flirting is not cheating. So Librans, if you are in lockdown, just remember, flirting is not cheating. If you want to be out there sending dick pics to people with consent, of course, or posting hot things with beautiful filters, I think that's okay. I'm going to say that that's absolutely fine. It will keep you feeling beautiful and grounded and okay. Librans, they are ruled by Venus. So everything that is the aesthetic, everything that is the sensual, everything that is about online shopping, that is all the realm of the Libran. They really exist in another world sometimes, but also they're very about the relationship. So if you're happily bunkered down with a Libran, I think you're going to feel a lot of love and care as well. Just make sure that they can keep ordering things online. They can keep flirting online or with other people because they need to feel that they can have that to feel alive and to feel well. So flirting's not cheating. Get out there in whatever way you can and just be your beautiful Libran selves.
Beautifully said. I agree. The devil's advocate has convinced me. Scorpio. What would a Scorpio do in quarantine? And would you like to be quarantined with a Scorpio?
Oh, you know me. I wouldn't say no to being quarantined with a Scorpio. Unfortunately, none of them have asked me for that. But I think that this time, we did say about how Cancerians are really built for this time, but I would say looking at a macro perspective of what's happening at this stage, it is so scorpionic that it is crazy. It is so about life, death, rebirth, the depth and the realms of the Scorpion that it's insane. I don't know how an actual real Scorpio will navigate this time because I don't really see them as real human beings with feelings. But I think with all the water signs, they are so much about the feeling state and the emotional realm and the dark realms that we can't access in the day-to-day world that we inhabit most of the time. We're also busy and we're connected and we're chatting and we're on this superficial level just trying to get by. However, with this enforced lockdown or the modification of how we behave, these qualities, the feeling state, the nurturing state, the having to stay inside and to go within the parts of ourselves that we try and avoid, these are now coming into the light. And I think that is Scorpio. It's all about the shadow side and bringing it up, as uncomfortable as it may be, and just
Yeah.
looking at it with these steely gazed, intense eyes. So I don't know what it would be like to be in lockdown with a Scorpio. I think it could be pretty intense. So
It could.
I don't know what to tell them because they have this disarming quality on me. So I keep my distance, and they don't seem to come close to me. So I don't know.
They're like, look at this girl keeping her distance. That's okay. She can stay there.
Yes.
I think you're right. The Scorpio is like the other animal other than the scorpion is the phoenix and, the rebirth and burning over and over again. And I think something I realized about Scorpios, because I've been exposed to Scorpios in the past few months, is that they do love to be in that state of in between, like death and rebirth, rebirth and death and rebirth. Like they love it. They sometimes do it multiple times a day, especially Scorpio moons as well. Emotionally, they like to do that. Yeah, I personally have like anxiety just talking about it, but I know some people are loving it. Anyway, it is an interesting time. I think it's not easy to be a Scorpio because, it's just there's a lot to digest. But if they're quarantined with someone that they can either have sex with, that could help, or with someone that is also a water sign and can meet them at that emotional, like the depth of the ocean. Other things they can do and should do is meditate. I feel like Scorpios have that, door into meditation because they're so intuitive and they're so in their feelings. They can stalk their exes and their exes on social media with moderation because they are, tend to have that unregulated behavior. And also, if you're a Scorpio and you choose to do that, make sure you don't break quarantine because of what you see on their social media, because it is important to stay in.
And I think Scorpios, you should definitely be setting up your home environment with hundreds of candles, a Ouija board, incense, sage. If it's light outside, put the curtains down and make sure it's dark inside. I feel like it'll be important for them to have a really apocalyptic, witchy, esoteric space from which to channel their most scorpionic, intense powers. I think this is their time, and when we move hopefully out of these changes at some point in the future, they might feel a little bit squinty, when you've come out of the dark and you look at the sun and you feel a bit like, oh, I'm not ready, I want to go back in. So I think maybe Scorpios will need a bit more support once we transition out in the future. So just keep them in mind at a future stage. But at this point, they're fine. They got this. Just get a Ouija board or something like that.
Talking about Scorpios.
Oh, yeah.
Before we move into Sagittarius, I just feel like we really spoke about Taurus for like 65 seconds and people keep blaming us for not talking about them or just saying shit about them. And now Scorpios is their opposite sign, so I was reminded of them. I don't know, I don't know if there's more to say. I just don't want Taurus people to feel like maybe they can play the guitar. I don't know. Okay, moving on to Sagittarius.
Yes.
Sagittarius. Well, we covered a little bit of it because we have been talking about Britney since this podcast started. But it's hard. It's not easy to be the sign of freedom and of travel and being quarantined and
yes, but they are also the sign of higher learning, philosophy, dissemination of ideas. So
true.
Restlessness, the Sag is always going to be restless. They're always going to say something that they regret. And so just let them do that. It's a stressful time for everyone. Stop being so, up in your bum. Let them do what they want to do. I don't know what I meant by that. I was searching for a word.
You started so empathetic.
I know. Not to them, not to the Sagittarians. I think everyone around them. Give them compassion because they're going to say something they regret. It doesn't mean that they don't care about you. It just means that they're they are the sign of that freedom to move and of Jupiter. But we've spoken a lot about Sagittarians as the eternal optimists. We've spoken about Britney Spears as the eternal optimist. They are here.
And the original feminist.
And the original feminist. Yeah. So, what can Sagittarians do to maintain a sense of freedom in lockdown?
So if you're Sagittarius and you have a projector, then you can project different sceneries onto your wall and just sit there and pretend like you're there. So like you could be at the beach, you can be on a roller coaster, you can go to wherever you want to go, wherever it is. And so that's one. If you don't have a projector, maybe you have a printer, you can print like a million A4 papers and of different sceneries. And I know this is not an environmental option in any way, but it is an option that you shouldn't be doing. But if you feel like you have to, then I won't say anything. And if you don't have any of these, then you can just go into your mind and pretend that you're there. And also, we know Sagittarians love to learn, love to read. So read about the places you want to go to. I don't know, open books. Like Brittany has some recommendations on her Instagram about books you can read. And start arguments online because you love to argue. Start arguments online and just make sure not to push everyone's button and be blocked by everyone else. Just, moderation. Something you don't know how to do.
Amen. And who's next?
Who's next? Well, next is our Capricorns.
Yes. They sure are next. And I've got to say, from all the Capricorns I know, I would say 99% of them seem to be like, it'll fine. It'll blow over. All good.
Yeah.
They're just so frustrated that their routines and their structures are having to be changed. We know that Capricorns are ruled by Saturn, so structure, boundaries, the tradition, all of those things matter to them. And so the fact that all of this change has happened quite rapidly, I feel like it's a bit of an uncomfortable state for a Capricorn. But as soon as they get into their survival, getting through this, churning through it, having lots of canned goods, going into the bunker, thinking about how they're going to crawl out of this scenario, that's when they are at their best state. So Capricorns, if you can finally get over the fact that this is a real thing, if you can actually acknowledge that a global pandemic has been declared, that life is going to change rapidly, and when you are ready to get behind this new situation, you are going to be an amazing asset. In terms of quarantining or being in lockdown with a Capricorn, I think, again, they're project based, they're outcomes based, they are, a masculine sign. So they will need a project to struggle with and to struggle through during this time. So if you don't have one, then make one up.
Definitely. I also love how you said their bunker, or the bunker, because I assume that every Capricorn has a bunker. They've been ready, not because they're paranoid, but just because they're practical. I just feel like if an Aquarius has a bunker because they're paranoid about what's going to happen, Capricorn is just what? You don't have a bunker? You don't have a bunker at your house for when you need it? I feel like when they build a house, they just build a house, and then on top of it, they build their actual house.
Yes.
But yeah, Capricorn, just be practical. Learn a new skill, take an online course, get another degree, order something from IKEA and build it, break something you already have from IKEA and fix it. Just do stuff, fix stuff. But I think this is a plea to all Capricorns to just not judge all of us for dealing it in ways that are not logical, that are not rational, that are not
Yes.
energy
Yes, I think.
conserving. I don't know.
And I think when I've said that some Capricorns are in denial, I don't mean to say that they're saying that nothing's happening, but I think Capricorns at this current stage are absolutely frustrated at the lack of practical, reasonable, moderate response to this situation.
Yeah.
They're seeing everyone running out there, buying toilet paper, calling everyone, feeling anxious, and they're just like, why are you adding this layer of stress to a situation that we can handle, that we can deal? And, you know, given that they're governed by Saturn and limitations, as Capricorn is going to pull you up in line if you are going too far beyond the pale, if you're becoming way into the air or you're right into your feeling state, into water. They're going to bring you back to earth. They're going to be helpful in making sure that you set a structure in place. So whatever this new situation is, if you're working from home or if you are on the front line, they're going to make sure that you still have your routines, you still have your structures, you still have boundaries. You know, you're not eating all of your quarantine bunker food in one day. They're going to set
What?
limitations that are appropriate. Yeah, you want to eat it and they're not going to let you eat it. So that's what's happening.
I don't know. I'm sorry if like I already told half of my stories on the podcast, but I just remembered that when I was, in school, you'd get food for, like, how do you call the first break? Recess. So like you'd
Yes.
get food for recess, like a snack for recess and lunch for lunch. And I'd finish all my food by recess. Like I would
sure.
not. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to count how much Cliff Bars I ate today. I want to eat all of them.
Yeah, but who are you going to go to when you've run out of Cliff Bars? Where do you go? To your Capricorn mum is where you go.
Yes, she has.
Or
she has
to your
food.
Capricorn stepmom, maybe.
Oh, yes. Okay. From Capricorn mom to Aquarius dad. So how is Aquarius dealing with this situation? They've
my
known.
gosh.
They've known it's coming.
Have they known? I think Aquarians are going to have the best conspiracy theories for this situation.
Yeah.
But I love to look to Aquarians that I know online who are navigating this beautifully. So I think Abby Jacobson from Broad City is a wonderful person to follow because she still has that aloof Aquarian quality about her. But recently she did this thing where she invited people of the public to come and sit opposite her and she sketched them. And then she did a whole post about how she connected with them and the different people she's met along the way. Now she wouldn't be able to do that because, you have to be a bit more socially isolated and be mindful of your distance. But the Aquarius is all about the collective, the humanitarian, the broader friendship and partnership that exists in the world. So I actually feel that Aquariuses have so much to give during this time. I mean, when it comes to lockdown, I don't know what the hell they do. I don't have enough Aquarians in my life in a consistent way. They tap in, they're a pleasure to hang around with, and then they tap out, and I don't see them. I don't know where they are or what they're doing. So I don't know what they'd be like in one fixed spot during this time. Like, what the hell? Tell me, Itai, you have an Aquarius dad. Let's not talk about him. Let's just talk generally about Aquariuses. What are they doing at this time? How can they be useful?
Well, I'll tell you what they can do and what they should do. Every Aquarius has like at least 100 messages, 100 people they left unread.
Yes.
So why don't you write back to all of these people? Just a thumbs up, just a response, something, Now you got the time, do that. After you finish that, you can run an online webinar or a class because, Aquarius love to teach. They love to teach society how to behave. So do something like that. I just ask, like, don't drive the person next to you crazy. Like, we know you can stay in that space of questioning everything and all the time, but the person that next to you might not have that ability. They might be of a different star sign. So just don't drive them crazy. I'm not talking about my dad here, obviously.
Well, I don't know, Itai, how would you handle it if all of your Aquarius exes started responding to all of their messages and connecting to you at the one given time? I don't know if the world is ready for that just yet. So maybe if you are an Aquarius, maybe pace it out. So respond to one ex that you've ghosted maybe once a week. So you're not bombarding the whole world with your rant and your perspective of the world. Let's not go crazy here. Aquariuses have a very important role to play. I just don't know many of you. I don't know them. I need to know more of them. It is. It is. And also Saturn has moved into Aquarius now as well. So there's all this other Aquarian vibes happening because Saturn doesn't move very quickly. And so when it moves somewhere, it does a whole big thing. But I'm not an astrologer, so I'm not going to comment on that broader. But Aquarius says you're going to be feeling a lot of stuff now, which I know that they don't like feelings a lot. But hopefully you can channel that into a positive thing. And yes, don't drive everyone crazy and don't be too available emotionally because that would be strange and weird everyone out because we're used to you guys checking in and checking out. Next.
Yes.
Who is next?
And last.
And last?
Next and last is our beautiful old souls. The Pisces. The Pisceans.
Well, yes, it is the Pisces. And, you know, it hasn't been the most pleasant couple of weeks. As I say, every Pisces season. We are now out of Pisces season into Aries season. But my God, they are the ultimate and final water sign. You mentioned that Tauruses will be hitting up a joint during this time, but I think Pisces are going to be bunkering down with a whole bag of drugs, like an amazing collection of drugs just to access when and if they need it, a stack of books, some PJ Harvey or Bon Iver or whatever music you listen to get you into the feeling state. I don't know if I could be bunkered with a Pisces because they are so in tune with emotions and how they feel. We are waiting for Rihanna's album, so she seems to be holding back for some reason. It's like she knows that it's not for now and she needs to wait. So I've been relying on her to release the healing energy that the world so desperately is crying out for now.
Please. I'm a bit at a loss for words, to be honest. Like, I think being a Pisces right now must be the hardest star sign to be. Like, they also got robbed of their birthday, just like the Aries people. And, their season was in a retrograde and everyone was... And I had, like, memories from 1 year ago coming on my Instagram. It was also a retrograde, like, exactly a year ago. They really had, like, a shit couple of years of birthdays. And I can only assume that the birthdays before weren't happier.
But my question is, was it shit for them? Because I would be curious if you checked in with Pisces people at the moment. For those that aren't completely overwhelmed, they're used to sitting with a lot of emotion and it is their happy space. And just how you said, Itai, how when you're used to feeling very anxious, but when shit hits the fan and when it's a real crisis, you're strangely very calm. And I wonder if Pisces at this time are actually feeling like they're in sync with the world and they are...
I'm sorry, I cannot get past like how much shade you just put with that sentence.
Did I?
Of, like,
no, I did not.
For those who are not completely overwhelmed, like the two Pisceans that are not completely overwhelmed.
No, okay, look, see, miscommunication, words get out there and you can't capture them and snatch them back. No, I just mean that they're okay, like in a really emotional time, and they already have the bag of drugs to manage whatever they're feeling. And this is the time when the watery signs have a lot to teach us. I mean, every sign has something to teach us for sure, but they're used to sitting in very hard, strong feelings. And a lot of
Yeah,
people
they're
that
the
are not
sign.
comfortable with that are going to be feeling immense, strong, overwhelming feelings. So you will need a bag of drugs no
Yes.
matter who you are or no
So
matter where you are.
just like you usually say on the retrograde, like now you guys can understand what my life is like, then the Pisceans are like, bitch, we know. Like that's their state of mind at the moment. And
Exactly. And
I can understand that. I think some
yes.
tips for you guys would be to start a dream journal. Maybe we can find something like from your dreams. Maybe there will be a pattern. Maybe you'll dream about the antidote. Maybe whatever. Maybe some messages will come. You can also do coloring books. I feel like that's a form of meditation that you could do. And you can read your own tarot or read your friends. Offer like online tarot readings, which every Pisces is entitled to provide a service that you can all provide because you are
Yes.
the most intuitive sign of the zodiac. But I would say, similarly to the Gemini, like don't get too stuck in your head, don't get too much in your thoughts. At least speak to another person a day, at least once, and that isn't your pet.
Yes, and
Just try.
don't get stuck in your feelings. So I think the
Yeah.
thoughts is sometimes that can ground a Pisces back into the real world. Don't get too stuck in your feeling state. But if you are in your feeling state and you can channel that in a productive manner, it can be beautiful. But just, find an air sign, find a fire sign, pat your pet, as you were saying, Itai. We need people's feeling states to be honored and shared and to help heal the world. But we want you to be fit and healthy and able to contribute in a way that's comfortable for you so we can ride this out together. So just come back to the ground in whatever way you can.
Use a Capricorn if you need to.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. Wow. It's been a long episode, but
It has.
we will be doing many of these.
It's true. We wanna just wish everyone an easy and a safe quarantine, and we're gonna be here to offer some entertainment and some escapism. Escapism. How do you fucking pronounce that word?
You nailed it. Escapism.
Escapism. Write to us on our Insta if you have ideas for games, for stuff we can all do, and for episodes idea, whatever you want, or just share your feelings and share your thoughts. And Karen, is there anything else you want to add before we sign this one off?
Well, I think in the same way that hopefully if you're listening to this, maybe you've enjoyed it. When we get contacted or connected to anyone listening with what you think or feel, it really does brighten our days. And, both of us will be in various forms of lockdown or with restricted movement in the community. So we really value you listening and connecting with us in any way. So similar to what you said, Itai, I just hope everyone is staying safe and connecting in whatever way that you still can. And it's a real pleasure for my sanity and for my structure to be able to continue to share whatever we have. And I promise we won't do every episode about the coronavirus. We're going to try and make sure that we don't deny or diminish that experience, but that we remember that we have plenty of other things to complain about. We had plenty of other things that were making us stressed or annoyed or frustrated or curious. All of that happened before this current situation. There's been so many people that are experiencing various challenges in this world before this particular one. So we won't make it the be all and end all because life goes on. We still need to connect as human beings. So stay connected and keep connecting to us because it really matters a lot to us during this very weird time.
Yes. So see you next time, and thank you for listening to Astrology Roast.